Get ready for sports, news, and entertainment. All right here, your 7 minutes with Simmons starts right now.
Trades have been making waves in the O and down here in the Goj. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. Christian Simmons, your host, welcoming you right back to 7 Minutes with Simmons. It's episode 67, or for those of you doom scrollers on TikTok, episode 67. Maybe we'll do that. We'll do the 6-7. I don't know. Maybe have some fun with this one. But, welcome back to the show, guys. A couple of things we want to dive into today. Last night's GOJHL results, as promised. We're going to continue with this as much as we can. I want to keep an eye on the Junior B circuit, stay informed, keep you guys in the loop as well. We're going to, talk about some of the recent acquisitions for the Niagara Ice Dogs, and then in the GOJHL, some notable transactions, some players leaving some organizations, some players coming back, some familiar faces returning to some organizations that know them very, very well. But with that in mind, we're going to dive right in with some of our results from last night, Friday, August 29th, and a couple of games to get through. It looks like exactly 4. And we'll start with the Ridley College Tigers. And it's interesting. Yesterday, I was out, had an appointment in the morning. I'm walking down St. Paul Street, and I see a group of guys, like 5 or 6, all of them, suited up, in the merchandise, Ridley College Tigers draped across the chest. And of course it's in St. Catharines. Like, I'm thinking 100%, they're out for a little bit of hamburger, pregame, but it didn't work out as they fall to the Falcons. Whatever they had at that hamburger joint did not fuel them ready for a victory, as in the second period, a lot of the feet grinded to a halt, man. It was 4 goals in that second period for the Falcons as they take that one 5-3, out shooting the Ridley College Tigers 38-23. If you take a look at the box score, once again, Caden Bell on the sheet. You love to see that, for the Niagara Ice Dogs prospect. He's getting his feet wet and ready to run. Going to be a horse on the back end for the Falcons this year. He gets his second of the preseason in that second period. Trayson Dewar also on the board, the assistant captain, Ali Mustafa as well. Dylan Atkinson later in that third with the final nail in the coffin as St. Catharines stays hot here in the early going. That's their third win of the preseason, and for Ridley, they fall. I guess you could say also on home ice. I was just looking at this. Both of these teams are from St. Catharines, so it was home ice for them, but not too far for the Falcons. Pretty close to their nest, and either way, a result that Ridley and the Tiger Arena won't be too happy to see as they fall to the St. Catharines Falcons. Great news for the Falcons as they look to regroup a little bit this season following a tough loss in the Sutherland Cup Finals, but looks like they haven't missed a beat. They're bringing in some intriguing young talent in Caden Bell, and of course the new leadership group spearheaded by Ali Mustafa, and then of course to have a guy like Trayson Dewar back is only going to help. And taking a look at this box score, all 3 of those names in the mix. So big win for St. Catharines. We'll move on to the Vail Center in Port Colborne. The Sailors with a huge victory on home ice, and the Canadians just continue to struggle. That's their 5th loss here in the preseason. A little bit of a tighter one from a shots perspective. It looks like the Canadians came to play. They just really couldn't get anything up there on the board. And 2 goals in that third period, but Port Colborne waltzes into that third period up 4. 40 shots for the Sailors, and it's D'Amico Villeneuve with 2 in the first and the second. Josh Lamb with 2 spread across the second and the third, and then Harris late in that third period as Marcus Harris is looking to establish himself there in the Port Colborne Sailors uniform as he comes across from St. Catharines. So interesting there is, the Sailors find a big victory, and that Sailors team's they're going to be dangerous this season. You take a look at their roster. I'm excited to see what kind of steps they can take in the Eastern Conference. And, for Welland also coming out of the East, looking to take some steps, but they're they're walking backwards here in the preseason. 0 for 5 so far. And a better performance last night in Port Colborne, but they still fall as Port Colborne, or the Sailors, I should say, get it done on home ice at the Vail Center. That was game number 2. Game number 3 takes us across Ontario to the Listowel Steve Kerr Memorial Complex, where the Cyclones fall to the Cambridge Redhawks, who continue to stay hot here. In the Eli Palfreyman, they were on fire. And then here in the preseason, take one in overtime. It's Jamie Dornelis, can stay in hot here in the preseason. He finds the back of the net in that overtime period. As for Listowel, it was Burfels in that first. For Cambridge, it was George in the second. And with the 35th, or I should say, 31st shot of the evening, Jamie Dornelis gets it done in overtime, and that's a big win for Cambridge. They're staying hot. For Listowel, they fall, but an entertaining match at that. They outshot their opponents, actually, so a lot to like for Cyclones fans, and a great performance. Had to have been a fantastic game to watch, and it is what it is. Sometimes you can't find a way to walk away victorious, and in that sense, still a solid result. I think they did everything they could have, to come away victorious. That's not the way the cookie crumbled. Anyways, moving on from that one, we'll head to Stratford and capture a team here that's putting the Gouge on notice. The Stratford Warriors. How about this? Jonas Schmidt in particular, 10 points, 6 goals and 4 assists in these, 2 games they've played? He's 5 points a game, the average, and he puts up 2 last night at the Stratford Rotary Complex, both in the first period. Colin Slattery and Wildfong in the third. Add a couple insurance markers as Stratford takes that one 4-1 on home ice. Lots of power plays. It looks like St. Mary's had a relatively undisciplined effort. They gave up 8. Stratford made them pay on 3 of them. So 3 of the 4 goals coming on the power play for Stratford, and for St. Mary's, that's a tough start. But that's going to do it for your recap of Friday night, as we'll move on to our second, piece of, second focus for the podcast. The second piece of information I wanted to cover, just a couple of interesting transactions also happening last night. Most notably for myself and for the Hamilton Kilty Bees fans, Avery Alves is moving on, heading to the OJHL, the OJHL. He was released to the Niagara Falls Canucks, so fantastic news for him. I've always been really high on Avery, a fantastic goaltender. Not the biggest guy, but he moves around with lightning fast speed. His post-to-post ability is incredible. He's got, a fast glove and an active blocker and just a great head on his shoulders that helps him make those big saves in the crease, but also allows him to be a fantastic player off the ice. Got to know Avery just a little bit last season. Wasn't the most talkative guy when it comes to the media stuff, but still a fantastic human being and an even better hockey player. And I can only wish you the best moving forward, Avery. Good luck in Niagara Falls. I'll be keeping my eye on you. And to the Canucks, one heck of a goaltender you're getting there. I can't wait to see the result as the Canucks look to have a big year in their own right. Also, mentionable acquisition, or I guess a return for the Air Centennials, as Matthew Prendergast comes back from the Aylmer, gosh, I can't say that name, Aylmer Spitfires of the PJHL, and that's great for Air. They'll get back a big part of their team. Last season, he had 12 points in 49 games, a game-winning goal, a couple of penalty minutes, and just a big part of that squad. Played a couple games in the Sutherland Cup playoffs as well, and over the last couple of years has really established himself, since coming into the Gouge in 2021 as, a bona fide roster player on any given night, on any given team. And it's nice to see that he's back in the Air Centennials uniform, and I'm sure everybody out there in Air is happy to have him back. But also, another thing we got to capture, I got to change the name of this podcast, man. We can't seem to get it in the 7-minute window here, but it's tough, man. There's all these things I want to cover. What am I going to do? Too much stuff to talk about. But as we move on from the GOJHL, we'll capture another league that I am excited to be a part of for this upcoming season, and that's the OHL, more specifically the Niagara Ice Dogs, who are in action tonight, preseason game number 1 on the schedule. Lots of things I'm looking forward to seeing, as the Ice Dogs really start to take shape here in the preseason. Some acquisitions, Riley Patterson coming from the Colts, a whack of draft picks going the other way. And for Frank Evola and this Niagara Ice Dogs team, it's an indication, as to the way management looks at, the state that they're in. This is a team that, wants to win. And I think this move from general manager Frank Evola really emphasizes that. You take a look at what they gave up. This is a 4th-round pick to the National Hockey League in the Vancouver Canucks. 5 draft picks going the other way. A 2026 second, a 2027 third and 6th, and then a 2029 third and 4th. That's a whole lot of potential prospects going the other way for a guy who's going to come in and be a big-time producer for this Niagara Ice Dogs team. So as the culture changes in Niagara, the on-ice presence changes as well, with Riley Patterson, Ryerson Edgar coming in, Brady Wasselin looking to take a step, Ryan Robrick looking to take a step, and then, of course, the goaltending situation still up in the air. But hopefully we'll have more answers for you tomorrow night when I come back. Tonight when you're listening to this. When I come back from the preseason game, I'm excited to see, how does Edgar perform? How does Riley Patterson look? Where's he going to play? What do line mates of Riley Patterson look like here in Southern Niagara and in St. Catharines at the Meridian Center? Where do you slide him in? Does he play with Kevin Heath? Does he play with, Ethan Zada? Do you want to put some righties and lefties together? He probably doesn't play with Ryerson Edgar unless you want, a righty line. Where does he slide in? And I'm interested to see the impact he's going to make, not only tonight on Saturday at the Meridian Center, but this season with the Niagara Ice Dogs. So exciting stuff happening in Niagara, exciting stuff happening across Ontario in the junior B loop in the Gauge, and I'm here just sitting back with my popcorn, enjoying it all. I hope you guys are as well. Thanks for tuning in, guys. That's going to do it for episode 67 of this show. Thanks so much, as always, for joining me. It means a ton to have you here. If you have a spare couple of minutes, be sure to leave a comment, maybe drop a like down below, and subscribe. It's free. Not going to charge you for that one. Hit the bell so you don't miss a single episode. We'll see you next time. Peace.